welcome to Five Things to Know, a Tax Talk Today exclusive. I'm joined today by Vernon Barnett, Chair of the IRS Electronic Tax Administration Advisory Committee, or ETAAC. Vernon holds degrees from Vanderbilt University and the University of Alabama Law School and has had a distinguished career, most recently serving as Commissioner of the Alabama Department of Revenue since May of 2017. He also serves as president of the Federation of Tax Administrators Board of Trustees, a member of the Senior Executive Board of Identity Theft Tax Refund Fraud Information Sharing and Analysis Center, the second vice president of the Southeastern Association of Tax Administrators Executive Committees, and the past chair of Multi-State Tax Commission. Vernon, on behalf of the viewers, it's my pleasure to welcome you to Tax Talk Today, where IRS representatives and tax industry leaders come together to share their knowledge and experience working in federal tax law. As a career tax practitioner and industry advocate, I know as well as anyone the importance of our community providing feedback to the IRS. I'd like to ask you a bit more about the important role at ETAAC in providing the IRS critical and timely information. Vernon, again, welcome. And first, tell us about your role and experience working with ETAAC.
Alan, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be with you today, as always. And I'm excited to be with you to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is frankly ETAAC, the excellent work the IRS and the Treasury Department's doing. We were really honored, and I have been really honored to be a part of it for 4 years, which is a little unusual. Most people are a part of it for 3. And I've served under some great chairs, learned a lot, but I started out early on not knowing much about the IRS and playing a small role in the ultimate product that we created that year. It was a great learning experience. You know, one of the remarkable things about ETAAC is just the breadth of the scope of ETAAC, and the people that are involved come from all over the tax ecosystem. And so I learned a lot that first year, and then was very honored to be asked to be the co-chair for the next 2 years. And in that role, it expanded. I got a little bit more of a view of what goes on behind the scenes, not only at the IRS, but also part of ETAAC. And in that role, got to know a lot more of the IRS executives that work with ETAAC and make those efforts possible. And that was a remarkable time of learning and just enjoying getting to know new people and delving deeper into the tax space. And then finally, as chair and having the ability to really shape the outcome of the report. That was a remarkable exercise too. You know, each year you just have this huge breadth of people working together, and we have to agree on what we recommend. And these days, if you can get 2 people to agree with each other, you've accomplished something. So if you get 20, 25 people to agree on something, lightning has struck in a bottle. It's remarkable. But in all seriousness, one of the things and one of the lessons that I've taken away from ETAAC, and really my time as a commissioner at the state level, is that there are so many things that we have in common. There are so many things that we can agree on. There are always going to be things that we don't, and that's fine. But when you're talking about the appropriate administration of taxes, there are a lot of things that, regardless of where you are on the spectrum politically or what have you, there's a lot to agree on. And so each time you see an ETAAC report, you can know that there was a lot went into it. Probably there were a lot of disagreements early on, and that eventually those disagreements distilled into what that product is. And then you can competently take that report. You can take it to the commissioner, the Treasury Secretary, you can take it to Congress and say, look, people from all parts of the tax world have weighed in on this, from the practitioners to to your average taxpayer to whomever. And these are the things that we agree can be done to make the taxpayer experience better. And I think you can have a lot of confidence in that. And frankly, we all took a lot of pride in the fact that we were able to come together. We had different personalities, different points of view, and just a remarkable process. I've never been part of anything like it.
Well, it sounds like you had a great experience. Can you tell us how ETAC has evolved over the years and the importance of the tax professional involvement in the advisory committee?
Yes, I can tell you, in my experience, especially the first year I was on it, it seemed to be driven by the tax professionals. And there's a variety of people on it, but it seemed to be driven by that group. They chaired all the committees and subcommittees rather, and that kind of thing. It was a little bit less so. There's more state involvement now, but I cannot overstate the importance of the tax professionals being a part of ETAC. They come at this with a detailed knowledge and skill set that is absolutely critical. As a state tax commissioner, my expertise is not federal taxes. And a lot of my experiences in a kind of a small pond do translate into the larger pond. But it's so important that our tax professionals get involved in this process. They not only bring that knowledge set, so many of them are excellent technical writers as well, and which is a critical piece of the puzzle. The ETAC report, at least the ones that we have created, especially in the last couple or 3 years, well, actually all 4 years, are designed to be digestible by someone who is not a technical expert. Our hope is that you can take our report and that you can read it and understand it. I think in the past, and I did not experience this was before my time, but my understanding is in the past, the ETAC reports were longer and far more technical. And we have deliberately tried over the last 4 years to go to a shorter and more easily digestible report that we can take to the Hill and utilize in that fashion, and that we can, talk to all areas of tax world using that report. And in order to do that, you have to have an innate knowledge of what you're talking about. Simplifying something that is highly technical is very difficult, and you have to know the details in order to make your message understandable without making mistakes in the communication. So I think sometimes people try to simplify complex issues and they leave out critical pieces where they misstate things. And so one of the areas that our practitioners, and especially our high-end practitioners, have been so helpful in is making sure that something like that doesn't happen in these reports, so that we get our message across in a way that's digestible, but is also accurate, both of which we feel is very important.
Great, great. Thanks. You kind of opened the door. You brought up the reports. So now I'm going to have to ask the question. I know the reports were just released recently for your tenure as chair. Can you
Yes.
give us a little bit what is in the public report and give some top highlights of things feedback that you're giving to Congress?
Yeah, sure, Alan. We have 14 separate issues, but really broadly speaking, that we deal with the simplification of tax administration. Obviously, none of our taxpayers win when we overly complicate things, and so we're trying to put things in plain language, make them understandable, and simplifying them. Also, and this is a big one for me, Alan. Here in the state of Alabama, we've been on a modernization program certainly since 2017 when I came on board, and even before. where we've embraced new technologies and innovations and really tried to modernize and deliver a better product to our people. And one of the foundations of that is sustaining adequate funding. In order to continue to modernize, you need to know what's coming in, what you can spend, what you can't, and that sort of thing. And that's certainly something that we advocate strongly for with the IRS. Enhancing digital payments and filing processes. Anytime we can get away from the paper, it's a win for everybody. And we need to make it as easy as possible for folks to pay their taxes. Also, just regulating tax preparers and promoting transparency. I know that we've all struggled at the local levels with these bad tax preparers when we talk about bad tax preparers, we're not saying unskilled tax preparers, we're saying shady or criminal tax preparers. And so, we'd like to see some progress in that arena. And then just leveraging human-centered design and advanced technologies and a lot of the things that the IRS is doing. By doing that sort of thing, it makes it easier for your taxpayers to, avail themselves of those products and just have a better experience, an easier experience, and a more accurate experience.
Great. Now, how can our viewers, should they want to do this, get involved with ETAAC? Do they have are there ways that members can contribute, or is there an open season for applying?
There is usually towards the end of the year in the fall and spring is when most people do apply, and they do through the IRS website. And I would encourage people to do that. I know a lot of your viewers, Alan, are involved in some of the professional organizations dealing with tax administration in some circumstances, and obviously they can get involved through those. And I would strongly recommend it. I cannot overstate the importance of our professionals getting involved in ETAAC. They are critical pieces of the puzzle, and I think that generally speaking, the trend in ETAAC is to alternate state representation as a chair one year with professional provider representation the next. And so there's a real need for the really skilled professional tax preparers to be part of it.
Thank you. My last question here is really going to be and I'm going to do this because I'm curious now. and I don't want to catch you off guard here, but I'm curious to how's your experience with ETAAC helped you enough for a state level? Help you bring anything back to the state of Alabama? And this is for future state officials that want to get involved with ETAAC as well as tax practitioners. And also, when you're finished with that, if you could just give us any last words of encouragement or advice for either the tax practitioner or the state the administrator that thinks they could get something out of being involved with ETAAC.
I think that one of the things that I've brought back that has been so remarkably helpful, the relationships that I've formed on ETAAC, not only with the IRS, but in some of these other areas of tax world have been very beneficial here in Alabama. We've had some, like everybody else, you have issues from time to time with your tax filing season. And if I know that I can contact a certain person at the IRS or in the various companies that we interact with every year, and I have their cell phone number, I can get in touch with them and we can get a problem addressed. That makes things so much easier for our taxpayers. And I know that I've contacted the IRS a couple of times over the last 4 years and been able to use those contacts for that, as well as in the private sector. It's been remarkably beneficial to both. Also, just learning how people view things. It's easy to think of the IRS when you're in a little state here as some huge monolith off in the far distant distance. And it's just not the case. Of course, you get to know folks on a personal and professional level, and you understand how they're approaching these problems, then it gives you a much better idea of what, from the state standpoint, you can do to meet them halfway. And this is kind of going into your second question, Alan. One thing I would tell everybody is, look, one of the things that really struck us as tax administrators coming out of the pandemic, and we spent a lot of time on Zoom calls like this one during the pandemic, is that the world was changing very quickly, and so many of the changes that we were that we were experiencing economically and socially were intersecting tax world. And it was incumbent on us as tax administrators to evolve with these changing times, to rise to meet these challenges that we were facing. And, the tax world is not made up simply of state tax administrators. And, it's easy to think of it that way for some of us, but, we're just one part of the puzzle. The IRS is a big part of it, and the private sector is a big part of it. All of it needs to work together for the benefit of our taxpayers. And if we're not working together, if we're not communicating with each other in a positive way, then things go awry. And one group of us can't do it without the other two, and two of us can't do it without the other one. And so, my message to your viewers, and anytime I get a chance to speak, I try to bring this message is look, we need to be working together. We don't have to agree with each other, but we need to work together. We need to communicate. We need to have these conversations. Sometimes we need to have hard conversations, and we need to do it because ultimately it's all for the benefit of our taxpayers and our system, our tax system. And so I would very much encourage your listeners, your viewers to get involved with the ETAAC, get involved in the other groups that are working in this tax space, and really embrace it. There's a lot of change has happened in the last 4 or 5 years, and there's no telling how much change is going to happen in the next 4 or 5 years. If we sat down and had this chat on camera in 5 years, there's no telling what the world would look like. And so it's an exciting time to be in tax administration. It's certainly been a huge passion for me. And I was new to tax world when I came into this role, and I absolutely love it. It's a remarkable space with remarkable people.
Well, this has been really great, Vernon. Thank you so much for joining us on 5 Things to Know. On behalf of our viewers, I want to thank you for your service with tax, especially in your current role with ETAAC. Your work really benefits the IRS and the taxpayer community, as well as our nation's taxpayers. Thanks again, and we look forward to seeing you on another Tax Talk Today program. Thank you all for watching, and as always, it's been great learning with you. Be sure to join us again for an upcoming Tax Talk Today program.